yaks are coming home, and the way they come home is on this road. Yo, this has been Cubbage from Elevated Trips, elevatedtrips.com. Today we're at Qinghai Lake, the largest salt lake in Western China and one of the 4 most holy lakes of Tibetan Buddhism. And we're here at this little kind of, I don't know what you call it, a truck stop or something, right across from Qinghai Lake. This is the main area of Qinghai Lake called Yao or 151. This is kind of the big bus tourism area of Qinghai Lake. I tend to stay away from this place because it's a little bit crazy with Chinese tourists, over 10,000 Chinese tourists per day. But you can see these are kind of the facilities around Qinghai Lake. It's March, so everything is closed. All the stuff will open up in June, July, August. Little hotels here, little restaurants, Sichuan Restaurants, things like that. Mostly caters to big bus tourists. But the thing we're mostly interested in is the lake behind me. See that snowy, beautiful lake behind me? This lake is 120 kilometers across, and today we're going to be checking out Qinghai Lake, and one of the most beautiful places in all of Qinghai Province. So behind me is one of the many Sichuan restaurants at Qinghai Lake, which is funny because we live in Qinghai Province, not in Sichuan Province. It's much, much colder here, much more high altitude than Sichuan. But I think Chinese tourists tend to prefer, when they travel, that they kind of know it's like the familiar food. It's kind of like almost like the, I don't know, the fast food Burger King or something that we might relate to as foreigners. So lots of Sichuan restaurants here, lots of YD Ren or people that are not from Qinghai Lake that have come in and done business and opened up restaurants here. You probably wouldn't know it by being here and looking at what's around me, but Qinghai Lake, as the biggest lake in China, is the #1 destination in all of Qinghai Province. Of course, Qinghai Province only has 5 million people, so there's cities in China that have, you know, twice as many people as the whole province where we live. Beautiful blue sky today. The sky is almost always blue. It looks like this almost all year round, with Qinghai having over 300 days of sunshine out of 365 days. The sky is often very blue. We're at 3,200 meters here at the lake shore. The lake is just that way, about 1 kilometer to my left, and you can see this road behind me. Just kind of an empty dirt road where some local farmers are grazing their sheep and yaks. There's kind of sheep poop along this road and yak poop and a few little clusters of hay. So otherwise there's not very much going on. So Qinghai Lake is very much remote, very, very desolate. Just a few little kind of mud or concrete shacks out here, but really there's not too much around Qinghai Lake in general. You're biking around the lake. This is pretty much what you're gonna get most of the time. As you can see, it's quite windy here, or as you can hear right now, it's very windy, and that's very typical. The wind just slices across here because it's totally flat, it's totally high altitude, there's not very many mountains around us, and so yeah, it does get quite windy. If you're biking here, definitely be prepared for the wind. Behind me, this is a little personal family altar where they will burn barley flour and juniper to the local mountain deities. So most families behind their home have a little altar like this where they burn offerings to Buddhist deities. Yeah, so this is a little Tibetan home. It's really cute. We're in a little countryside village, and this is what I really like about traveling, is just getting to experience these really authentic places, getting to meet local people and meeting the nomads, and just walking amongst the sheep and the yaks and seeing what real countryside life is really like. Very simple nomad home behind me, not super fancy, basically just kind of a concrete shell with just 1 or 2 rooms inside, and basically the living room and the kitchen and the bedroom are all kind of in one room. This is maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing maybe 100 square meters inside this very simple cement house. But this is what a lot of nomads at Qinghai Lake live in. sometimes they also live in a courtyard style house, and we're going to go inside and see what the house is all about in there. Behind me is one of my favorite features of the local Tibetan home, which is this kind of hand-built, it's kind of a mud and clay, and they put a little bit of grass in there for structural integrity, and it's basically a stove. So we're standing on the outside of the house, and we're looking at the stove, and you can see behind me the smoke coming out right here of the stove, and this is actually heating up the underneath of a bed. And so this is called a Kang, K-A-N-G bed. And so they're actually stoking a fire underneath the bed to keep it warm in there. So the fire not only functions as for cooking and things like that, but it also functions for keeping the bed warm. And so there's actually a nice toasty fire underneath the bed. Usually the fire goes out in the night and it gets a little bit cooler, but once they start to go to bed, they have a nice warm bed, and it's almost like having an electric mattress, probably even warmer than an electric mattress underneath you at all times. And so that's the thing, and you'll see that this is connected right into the bed inside the house. Another example here of a small offering. If you were staying in this house, you probably would just walk by this and never think about it. But you see a little yak poop inside here. That's to light the fire, obviously, because they have no trees here. And then they add some special flowers, some barley flour. And this is kind of a morning ritual where they're offering it to the local deities around this house. Touring around the countryside home here, you see this small little tractor, just sort of like a little motorcycle with a bed, basically, and they use that to transport some of their farm supplies. Most of these folks are living agriculturally. Sorry, the sun is super bright. And then behind me, a little storage shed where they store probably some of the barley and grain after their harvest, and they probably store some of the hay as well for the winter for feeding the sheep and the yaks. Guys, here's the very simple toilet. It is just a concrete wall with a little hole in the ground dug with a shovel, and ironically they always put their toilets right by the road. I don't know why that is. Maybe that's because the house tends to be more away from the road, further into the property, and then the toilet is like right on the road. So anyone that's driving by, if you're slightly tall or you're just not very good at bending down, you're definitely going to catch a little view of you using the bathroom. Behind me, they're building a little sheep pen here. You can see the brick pile back there. So this is a sheep pen where they hold the sheep at night, so wolves or thieves will not pick them off in the night, and then they'll keep them here at night, and then let them roam in the mountains back here, these mountains. So sheep go free during the day and roam in these beautiful grassland mountains. One of my favorite features of the Tibetan home, this probably just looks like a pile of dirt, but it's actually 100% yak poop. You can see all this yak poop. That's about 50 straight meters of yak poop, and it's piled up probably about half to my height, probably about 1 to 1.5 meters high, about as high as a tennis net. So that is a lot of yak poop, and they have gathered that from their yaks in the summer, and that is their sole source of fuel. So they have to ration that well in the winter for their heat and for their cooking. So that's the yak poop that powers the yak dung stove. Below me is this line. You see this line that sort of parallels my shadow. It's a rope line, it's a white rope. This is where they tie the sheep and the yaks at night. So they tie them here. A lot of times they'll tie the yaks here so they can separate the babies from the mommies. And that way the babies don't drink all the milk in the night, and then they can let the babies out in the morning, drink a little bit of the milk, and then take the rest for making yogurt and cheese. So that's how they separate the babies and the mommies, how they get the milk, and that is ultimately all happens right here on this little white rope. Check out this Nomad car behind me. It's super duper dusty. It's like an old Chinese brand. And this is what these Tibetan nomads, they drive all around the grasslands here. They drive into the mountains. They treat this thing like a four-wheel drive car, even though it only probably has like 3 inches of clearance. I love it, how they take these places into super rugged environments. This has been coverage from Elevated Trips. Subscribe to our channel and check us out for more in Tibetan culture and travel in Western China.